I'm going to share with you some research from Lucy Kemp. I mentioned Lucy earlier. She was meant to be here and an urgent issue turned up in Czech Republic, so she couldn't make it back. I'm really proud to share this because it changed my perception of what I should be doing as a leader, fundamentally. And specifically, when I induct in any context someone who is of a generation, probably Z and millennial, that's the younger perspective, my setup conversation will be fundamentally different. Because this, as a baby boomer, is how I used to do a setup conversation with a new starter. Awesome to have you with us. Thank goodness you're here. We're kind of desperate. Here are your car keys. If you need me, give me a call, because I'm always here for you. Good luck with that. All right? So task orientation, let's make it happen, etc. On reflection, I think I could have done a better job. Now, when we look at some of this research, this is the content I would put in a setup conversation. And what I would do is ask and not tell. I'd say, what are you looking for in this area, whether it's career development that Sally was just talking about? What would you like in terms of the relationship between you and me? How do you want this to be? Now, there's a reason to do that, of course, because it's seek first to understand as a philosophy, and crucially, it's about full engagement right from the start, from manager and managed. Now, that's a mindset change for me. Second big paradigm shift for me from this research from Lucy. Generation Z, largest, wealthiest, and most generous generation. They are your change agents if you truly want to transform your business. But you have to give them the space and you have to hear their voice. That's a big ask if you are a paradigm that says new, they need to learn a few things. They need to do it our way, and then eventually we'll ask them what they think. Paradigm shift for me. So here we go. I'm going to cover 5 things, and it'll take about 10 minutes to give this input. I'm going to share with you a little bit about how Lucy's team did the research. A little bit of myth busting, which we've been doing all day, I hope. What do they want? Now, it's interesting. The research was 2,600 working Generation Z. So 2,600, mainly in focus groups, but also one-to-ones. So Lucy took some individuals from every group and had one-to-one and said, tell me more. When you said this, what exactly did you mean? And 70 managers of Generation Z. Most of those were one-to-one. So this is quite chunky research. And I'm going to share with you, in Generation Z, 3 different groups, male, female, and non-binary. And what's their perspective and what's their wants and needs. So again, in my setup conversation, I need to think hard about the person sitting in front of me before I just do my normal blurb to say welcome to the business. I'm going to share with you some quick wins. Now, this is where it comes really personal for you as influencers and leaders. Some quick wins that you can adopt to make a difference fast. And some long-term perspective for us as leaders. Multi-generational leaders. So remember, 2,600 Generation Z, 70 managers of that generation. And this is what women want. Brilliant film, Mel Gibson. If you haven't seen it, What Women Want, search it out. Now, some of this is no surprise, and some of this, of course, applies to all generations. Supportive and approachable managers. Now, notice my baby boomer style of, here's the car keys, thank goodness you're here, we're desperate, crack on. That is not supportive, and even though I said, call me anytime, it is not approachable, because I then disappear. So I'm not present. Ability to balance work and life and career has to be articulated as crucial. We want to help you be successful in life, and business is part of it. If you don't articulate that, you're demonstrating the career is the only thing I care about in terms of you, not bothered about what happens in your home life. I put this because Lucy talked about this and said it's massive. We need role model leaders who are demonstrating all of the characteristics we aspire to. And we know what they are. You could shout them out. They're obvious, but most of the leaders in my career have not demonstrated those characteristics. Things like empathy. So role modeling, absolutely vital. Connected to this, the role models, if you are a woman, need to be female in most cases, but not in all. If the ultimate leader of a business, this is the findings, the ultimate leader of the business is male or female, irrelevant, provided they demonstrate the competencies that I respect and admire. Gender equity in action, not just in words. So you ought to be doing things actively, consistently, otherwise you're not meeting the wants. If there are any builds, just shout them out, because I'm sure we've got perspectives on this. But as I said, this is holding up a mirror and me thinking, how do I normally communicate? What do men want? It's quite different. And there's quite a lot of transformation in this. Encouragement for breakthrough thinking. Ask for it, encourage it. Support for ambitious projects. Listen to the language. Breakthrough, ambitious, experimentation, technological advancement. So let's move into AI. So, oh no, we're not thinking about that at the moment. We should be, if you want to inspire men in this generation. Now, non-binary and gender fluid. I'm going to read every word of this. It's powerful. Inclusivity that transcends mere tokenism. Genuine celebration of diverse identity. A work culture that embraces differences at its core. Pretty cool. But also paradigm shifting. Do I demonstrate that as a leader? Do I show that I'm embracing it and I value it? Big challenges as a leader. Now, quick wins. This is where Lucy's research with the 2,600 also said, so what do you think we should do? What should managers do? How do you want managers to be? And I'm going to ask you to do an exercise briefly in a moment about what sort of manager would you want right now in the current world. I'll ask you in a moment. I hope you can read that. I mentioned this before about traits. I don't think there's any surprises up there, but it might not be the current culture in which you work, either as a leader or as led. Transparent, inclusive, ethical, clarity and context, not just clarity, not just the what, give me the why, open dialogue about decisions. So one of the things that Sally was saying is there a bias about someone who's young and career? Well, why don't we ask them rather than say, too young, too inexperienced. So we're not even going to ask them. So open dialogue about decisions and frequent feedback two-way. So here we go, some quick wins, and they are quick wins, and if in any context you want to adopt some of the things we're talking about, I would take notes about some of this, and I have already. If I write it down, it sticks in my brain more. You can certainly take photographs of this at any stage. Quick wins. Offer flexibility. So we're talking about hybrid working and things like that. So if you have a company policy, you might want to change it. Offer flexibility. Create psychological safety. And that probably means many more discussions than you might be used to in your business, that you just crack on with task and you don't have an open discussion about how do you feel and about your well-being. Emphasize continuous learning. Simply vital that this is a learning culture. On a daily basis, I'm learning something new. It's really cool. I had the pleasure of working with Martin and Steph in the winery at Ridgeview, and we're constantly doing learning for how do you sell wine, how do you understand wine, how do you understand B Corp, which is one of the things that Ridgeview does. So continuous learning is pretty much every day in that business. Transparent and frequent feedback. It's the second time that feedback word's come up. Old school leadership is you're told what to do, and then we're only given feedback if you do something wrong. I know it's a bit simplistic to say that, but certainly a lot of my experience in career has been like that. We'll leave you to it until something's wrong. That is not frequent, consistent, valuable feedback. So those are quick wins. Any thoughts or impressions of those quick wins? These are the more strategic ones, and again, this is eye-opening. I think it's really clear and very useful. Here we go. Long-term perspective. I mentioned this is a bit of a mirror. Redefine your leadership style. Stop, think, reflect, what's working, what might be better if I changed. Redefine the leadership style. Support actively dual career paths. So the idea that you are supporting absolutely, I want to help you in your outside life as well as your inside life. Cultivate mentorship programs. This is simply massive. Last week I was with an incredible organization called Title IX. That's a business by women for women. One of the things they do is they offer any entrepreneur in California who is female the opportunity to be mentored by one of their leaders. And last week we had those mentorees coming to present their entrepreneurial ideas to an audience of 250 and winning support in terms of finance from investors. It was a simply awesome example of what mentorship can do in terms of driving confidence, the ability to win big contracts because they gave mentorship and how you present and all those sorts of things. Incredible environment of mentorship. These are obvious, aren't they? But my goodness me, I don't see much championing. We've got experts in the room for this. Of course, Sally Aduke here works for a company called Inclusivity. And if you need help and support, the experts are in this room or we can introduce you to them. Develop and empower female leadership. In my experience, and I'm passionate about the subject of leadership in general, but in my experience, the world needs more female leaders because they bring a different empathy and a different perspective of collaboration, full stop. Now that might sound sexist, but it's actually experiential. So that is a list that I'm going to use constantly. I've taken a photograph, got on my phone and just say, are you following these principles within the organizations with which you work? And I hope that Lucy's research has inspired you as well. Remember, this is pretty good chunky research with a lot of people in Generation Z. So it's very real. I'm going to ask you to do a super quick exercise on your tables and in pairs. Choose someone that might not be sitting next to you if you need to find someone that you don't know well. And all I'd like you to do is think about the ideal manager you would want right now. And what are the 3 main characteristics you would want in your manager right now? It's going to be 5 minutes, 5-minute exercise, 3 main characteristics.